Roll call, please.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Donahue?
Here.
Ms. Greenfield?
Here.
Mr. Hammond?
Here.
Mr. O'Day?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt is absent. Ms. Zamara?
Here.
Notice of this meeting was provided to the Bernardsville News, Courier News, and the Star Ledger, filed with the municipal clerk, and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 11th, 2018. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to just take a moment of silence for Dennis Dooley, who passed this weekend. He was a council member at one point for a term and just an amazing volunteer between recreation, basketball, environmental commission, just a great man, and we will really miss him. So just a moment of silence. Thank you. We have presentation, shade tree planting plan. Is Ed's not here? Who's Ed? Oh, I didn't see you. You snuck in. I did that.
Okay, so this has been a plan that's been going on for a while with the Shade Tree Committee. They got the opportunity to do this because a vendor had proposed a plan. It was great. It was very big and very expensive, and so we said, as volunteers, maybe we can do it. So we've been trying for a while, and we'd like you to the council to review our proposal as part of the new initiative to revitalize the downtown, consistent with the master plan. And in the downtown survey, some of the top 3 issues for Gen Xers and baby boomers and the greatest silent generation is a streetscape. So that's what this is all about. But this is just the initial plan. I think everybody would like to have, I mean, in the revitalization plan, they're talking about tall, hardy, mature trees with canopies above the street, signage, et cetera, et cetera. That's down the line because you have to get the DOT, you have to get the businesses, a lot of permissions. So what we volunteered to do was to, and John's not here. Oh, I swear Cook is here. No, John's not here. John McDowell's not here, and he basically put us in touch with getting borough property. So we're going to try to plant trees on 4 different sites. We've checked with Dunster Squib people because across the street is one of the sites. We're trying to work with the Environmental Commission because we're really just in front of. And I'll go over that. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rushing a little. But we had a volunteer expert, Sarah Webb from Drew University, where she's a professor emerita of biology and environmental studies and handles the forest. Randy Santoro from the Shade Tree Committee in Vernon's Township in Basking Ridge was very helpful. So our plans look good. We don't have any invasives, we don't have any non-natives or invasive species. The first map, so what we did, we picked 4 sites all along 202. The first site shows planting beginning at the firehouse on the northbound side. The second is the small patch of wood further on the other side of the firehouse, adjacent to the firehouse. The third is pruning on the north side by the DPW and sewage treatment area, down to Quarry Road, and then from Quarry Road up to the hill. So it's quite a long patch. Now, built into that is the possibility that we'll integrate with Dunster Squib. We'll also maybe get a homeowner who has quite a long space, although it's very, the drainage there is not so good, but we've talked to him in Springhouse Road, and we might be able to also plant trees there. But that's in the future. The whole purpose of our plan, is to get started. And once we think that what you will think is working well, then we'll continue, maybe get some more to do, and we'll be working on that in the meantime. In fact, the first thing Bonnie Stone Sellers, she's not here, asked me was, when are you gonna go and ask the businesses? And you know, that's a big part of it, but I think we have to have a little credibility, and then that's next on our plate. We wanna really develop a signature look with a variety of complementary species. I have, John actually did a spreadsheet, and, which I have here somewhere, and I'll just mention a few of the trees in it, to show what we're doing, and maybe other people want to do it. I did give maps to the council, and that we developed. I don't have extras to hand out here, but I can show them to you later if you wish. And we have an Excel spreadsheet of the trees we're going to plant. For instance, along at Borough Hall, we would have leatherleaf viburnum, winterberry, eastern redbud, Elizabeth yellow magnolia, which was kind of an interesting tree, which is what we were looking for, by the stone garage. And in front of the Borough Hall, we'd have dwarf flowering dogwoods. We weren't going to have shrubs there, but we'd like to have dwarf flowering pink and white dogwoods. The top of the slope near the firehouse, we'd have eastern redbud and flowering dogwood. And the top of the slope there, they're not in the same place. First we would have the winterberry shrubs, the ilex, and then below that we would have the smaller trees. Along the hill from the quarry up to the top of the hill, as far as we could go, there's a lot of cleanup there. And we've done some of that, but there's more to be done. We'd like to put in flowering dogwood, flowering pink dogwood, eastern redbud, and winterberry. So we've got quite a lot to do, right, Doug? I guess John's going to do it, right? But maybe Doug might get involved too. So I think what we'd like tonight is your approval, really, to move ahead. I mean, not all of this is subject to your looking at it later and saying, could you try this, we do that. It's not going to happen till the spring, but unless you approve it tonight or maybe the next meeting, whenever you can, John can't go out and actually buy tree or put an order in for trees, and that's what's critical. We have the money. We're not asking for any more money. We have the money in the tree fund. And John has already gotten prices, but unless he places an order, if we wait till the spring, it'll be too late. So if you can approve this, it would be great.
Can we do this tonight?
Yeah, motion, anybody?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You got it.
Uh-oh, that was quick. Okay,
And
all right.
thank you for all the work you've done on this. This is really very impressive.
It's been fun. I'm hoping it leads to other things.
Yeah, but it's a great start.
Not this next project. This is totally new.
Oh, we're moving on to the Winter's Farmers Market?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you want to have someone in between, I'll take a rest.
Yep.
You're standing there.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so a bunch of us have thought about this for a while, although I shouldn't say a while. We've been changing the farmers market for the last 3 years. I wouldn't say it's like pulling teeth, but people don't want to change. None of us want to change. It's not, but somehow everyone agreed that maybe because of Bedminster, I'm not quite sure why, being at the same time, we had to change. So we started bringing in pop-ups. That has worked very well. We've got some interesting pop-up farmers, and it's bringing more people into the market, and everyone likes it. So, not our regular farmers, and I have to make a distinction between our regular farmers, our traditional farmers who have been here for 25 years. We don't want to change them. We almost lost one, he came back. But they're really, the nucleus and the tradition of Bernardsville. But the new people have a lot of ideas. And one of the things they're pushing for is a winter market. So there's been a lot of talk about maybe doing it small in some church, doing it somewhere else in the Audi dealer, which would be much bigger. There's been a lot of talk, but it turned out that the train station is available. Okay, there's a slam dunk we can all live with. So we're thinking about that, and plans have been made. I think Doug's done some work there, which is nice. I think the windows are clean. A bunch of things like that, all very necessary. It's a popular attraction. In fact, our New Jersey Sustainable Jersey recertification was helped by having a growth in the farmers market. It really was. So we doubled in size some weekends. It was good. And this also ties into, again, to the downtown revitalization plan. We're right there. We're across the street is where Quimby Village is. I mean, so this is part of that. Not part of that. It's a separate entity, but it feeds into that and helps the downtown. So we want to continue that tradition, and we want to stay with the New Jersey Council of Farmers and Communities. It's a long acronym. Because they really work with people in the state. They don't help us that much. We do have a membership fee of $300, but it's good to belong to that organization. We do when we talk to other people, and that's one thing we have to get the winter market people to want to do, is to want to join and become members. So that's going to be, they're not pushing it, but it's something that we should be cognizant of and ask them to do it. So we want to balance the summer and the winter, but there has to be a separate winter market, and that's why I'm here tonight, to see if we can again get a go-ahead to do a separate winter market. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. We have to plan it, but unless we get a resolution, I don't think we can really. There are a number of vendors who said, well, look, Ed, there's a new market. It takes me time to get a product together. I can't just, take it from another market and give it to you, So it may not happen right away. Some of it could happen right away. We could have a rolling start if we want. The other thing is, some other people feel, unless you really give everybody a number of months that they can be there, they don't want to commit. So we don't want to do it. There are enough failed businesses downtown. We don't want to say, here, we're going to do this, and that doesn't work. Then people will hurt the summer market. So we don't want to do that. We want to do it right. So the timeline is up in the air. I think the initial pricing we make will determine if we can count on people coming to the market. Some people want to start. We start the summer market at 9, but obviously winter market we'd start at 10 and go to 1. There'd be some other changes we might make. The room is fairly big. The tables we don't need to have as big. The idea of food, now we have to get inspections, and certainly heating food, probably a no-no at this point, but a lot of people would come to the market if they could have something warm while they're there. And that might feed into finding a company that wants to actually take over the train station and make it work as a business. The farmers market can't. That's just that just could add and encourage a new business. So we've got a lot of dreams. And what we like tonight, I brought a letter, which I think I sent to you, Anthony.
Yes.
And it's the same letter we use for the summer market. It's from the Bernardsville Business District Corporation, if you remember that. But we're still using it. We haven't changed it. Greg remembers it. Stephen Parker is still on it, but he never told it. I never hear from him. But it's basically a letter that if you could sign it or approve it, change it any way you want or any way you think you need, then I could go ahead and get the farmers to submit the necessary insurance forms, because they have insurance, but they don't have it for this. We can't just, write on it, also good for the winter market. That has to be done correctly. And the hold harmless they have to sign, the general concessionaire, and health inspection forms, we have to get all of these things. And Anthony has to keep track of them. So, we'll all keep track of them. But Anthony does a great job. And then there's some fees, licensing fees, and so forth. So maybe at the, I guess you have that letter in front of you,
Yes.
maybe you could look at it and see if it's something you could sign.
And about how many vendors do you think you could get in there?
I think between 6 and 10 at
Okay.
this point, but,
And how many do you have at the summer market?
well, we
On a
have,
given day.
it was 8 for years, and we've gone up to 12, to 16.
Wow,
A couple
with
of
pop-ups.
times, a couple of times, but that was like, a dance, shoehorning everybody in.
Mm-hmm.
We took over some parking spaces, we took over some of the spaces that are reserved for the handicap.
Oops.
They don't seem to use those. I mean, they have other handicap spaces. I mean, maybe that's, I don't know if it's only that, it was really for the police department.
We are recording this now.
We always stop there.
Okay.
My only question is, I don't know, you said November through May. I'm not sure if we can commit that far. Doug, I mean, based on having to redo the lease
Well,
and
it's up to
do
you
bids.
all. You certainly could, and then we could just not have the lease.
And then have
signed
the
until
lease
after
till
May.
June, okay.
Well, what's the time frame that a lease could be ready? I mean, so like,
And the
would
bid
it take
specs.
Well,
3 to
it would
4
take
months
us a
anyway,
month
or?
to do the specs, then people will need time to
Prepare
put
their-
bid together,
yeah.
and then we have 60 days to award, so it's going to take 3 months anyway. But
Probably
5 is
longer.
not out of the question.
Mhm.
Is 3 months not attractive to the vendors? Would 3 months be attractive, December, January,
Yes.
February, would that be
Yes.
attractive?
Yes.
What, do you know what the time frame is for the Morristown winter market? They go from when to when?
They're on Sunday, and they're all winter.
No, but I mean,
I was
what
gonna
months,
say,
what months?
maybe
are they?
They're on now,
3
and I
months
think
plus
they run till
extension.
May, but I'm not positive.
Everybody
Well,
wants to-
actually, we're not gonna get November, so
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
I know,
December.
it's really,
December 1st through March 30th is Morristown.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
Malcolm's here too, fortunately, so if you really need an expert, we got one.
So December to March would be
Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah, that would be safe as far as.
Yeah, why don't we say December to March, and then if we're still not available, we'll do it on a month to month till May?
Yes.
Can we do
We can
that?
certainly do that, yes.
Yeah, because if we don't have somebody coming in, there's no reason
Right,
anybody
not
else,
keep it going.
no reason
But
anybody.
you think you could get people to commit for
Yes.
December to March, 4
Yes,
months?
oh, yeah, yes.
And then we can reassess, in the March timeframe or February timeframe, whether or not it looks like we're gonna have a tenant coming in or not.
Right, and we could try to do it for 4 months, or maybe we do it monthly.
I think that's what the mayor was saying.
Yeah.
Is like we'll go through March for sure,
Right.
and then we'll say beyond March we can extend as we get closer to that time frame. If we have a tenant coming in, then we might have to say stick with the original March date. And then if we don't have a tenant coming in immediately, we could say, okay, well, we can extend for a month or we can extend for 60 days or something.
Right, I was actually saying month by month, not 2 months, not 4 months. I mean, 4 months are available, that's what you're saying, that's
Yes,
clear.
yeah,
What
but
I
if you
was-
think it's more advantageous to guarantee a vendor by giving them 4 months,
I think
then
it
I
would
would,
be, if
then
we
do
can,
that,
yeah.
I would do that.
I think that's what we were discussing.
Yeah.
But it might, some of them might just want 1 month, so I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
you
So
can have a
that's
discussion.
Yeah, we
Right.
haven't had that
Okay,
firm discussion yet.
okay, and Doug, everything has been checked out, the electric, the heat,
We got the baseboard heat working, we relamped everything, the lighting isn't the greatest, I like that 20-foot ceiling.
yeah,
It's limited what we can do there. All the locks are being changed this week, all the windows are clean, the building's been cleaned. Service master came in, did a pretty nice job on everything, so.
good,
yeah,
okay.
We're as ready as we can be.
All right, so do we need a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
It's your lucky night, yeah?
Should be a baseball career. You know why you're Exactly.
All right, our next is the green infrastructure plans that the Environmental Commission is going to present.
Go ahead and read it. Kathy and I are here to seek approval of 2 sites from our draft from the Rutgers Cooperative Extension Water Resource. We selected 2. I think you have seen, everyone has seen this one. This is the impervious cover reduction action plan. And I hope you will have these 2, the 2 that were selected. I'm going to give you just a little bit of reasons why we selected these. You know, this is all about water conservation. The original grant came from the Highlands, and the purpose of these practices, the green infrastructure practices, is to either contain or infiltrate, so water is recharged, so that we have the purpose of water quality, water quantity, and prevent flooding. So the park was really a good choice. It's visible, and I must say that it's looking good. We've done a lot of things, and I think the council is aware of environmental things. You already before this had started on doing some things for it. So, and also we've been working real well with the Works Department. I think we have our approval. Kathy's going to talk more about the partnerships of it. The library was a good choice too, we thought, because relatively simple, with 2 rain gardens to contain water, and there's a lot of impervious surface from the library. So the way they did this, if you're interested in knowing how they started, the process was to do aerials of the entire municipality, and that way they could easily see which had the most impervious. Impervious surfaces are the greatest villain for stormwater problems. And so then they went, they did field work and decided, we're really lucky to have Chris to do, Abrupta to do this for us. In the environmental circles, he's really acclaimed. So you should know how excited the Environmental Commission is about this. We had looked into this idea before and just knew it was beyond the budget. And getting this grant, I think, is a real win for the town. So after that, they selected the best of all of those things that were listed in the draft, all of the choices. And I said the library is a good one because it has all that impervious surface, and they have a way of conducting it to that second garden is a good way, so that you reduce any problems of icing, because water can accumulate there. So I think if there's any questions, I didn't go over all the different practices they have, but when you look at it, you can see that they really jive with what is needed.
So it's 2, not 3?
2. Because the whole firehouse wasn't really needed, it was just part of it.
All right.
So they could buy it.
Ah,
They
okay, so I
made
knew we
more in
had
the
talked about
future.
that
Yeah.
slope there.
And to continue, because we were fortunate, on October 28th, Dr. Chris Abrupta came, Mary Jane was there, as well as John McDowell, and we got into nitty gritty and choices. And going along Nervine Pond here, right at the edge of the firehouse parking area is that slope that runoff is incredible. We've done a little research, John and I, and Glenn Miller's here tonight. That little slope is part borough property, fire department. And at this point, Chris Abrupta isn't spending his time and money to fully use the elevations. They've started. If you see over in the corner, they've got precise elevation grades, but exactly what they're gonna do, they're kind of waiting to see. So look back up a little bit. Originally at the beginning of 2019, the council gave the Environmental Commission funds in our budget to have this impervious coverage study done. Well, we are fortunate that Chris got the grant and the Rutgers Cooperative has done it and selected us and Tewksbury Township to be their model towns. So our budget still has some money in it, as well as we got a $1,500 grant from ANJAC, if anybody knows that Environmental Commission group. So we have some nice money. So I know that's always a concern of yours. So we've got budget and that, Mary Jane, why the firehouse won't quite fit in the money we have now.
Okay.
It could fit down the road. We definitely want to keep going, but just like Ed's projects, we're going to stay in budget for now. Okay, and going a little bit further with our partners at the library, over the last week or two, I've gotten a chance to talk to, of course, you all know Marilyn D and the Garden Club do a lot of maintenance there. And let's put it this way, Marilyn's words of Chris O'Rupton designed it, he's the man. So she's excited, but she's concerned about maintenance. And we've talked about, well, Garden Club, of course, will just continue to deadhead black-eyed Susie, etc. And bigger maintenance, public works. And we talked about replacing plants when they die. So we've had a really good discussion going forward, talking to the staff at the library, the director, and Rick. We're going to talk to the library board of trustees after tonight, because we don't know if we're going forward yet. And then the fire department, talking to them when it comes time. And Doug, thank goodness, has been very supportive and giving us some pointers. And over at the library, if any of you really use, we're going to be doing right in front, near the flagpole area, there's one small rain garden around an inlet there now. We're going to put a rain garden around the second. But down towards the old library, kind of pitches that way the whole way. Well, what Chris does, they remove the curb line. So your block is gone and you create the rock going out. So the water dissipates out of the parking lot through this rock, and just like you used the word, filtering the storm water. So it's really exciting. This is the way stormwater is being thought about, more than just put it in a pipe and send it to the river. And so we're excited about this, and we hope that in partnering between the Environmental Commission and Public Works and Facilities and Rutgers, we can, for $6,000, really get a lot of water where it doesn't belong, but keeping it in the water pools.
Well, and also the water garden helps to filter it, so by the time it gets to
Oh, yeah.
the drain, it's
And our
gotten rid of.
phosphate and nitrate issues
Yeah.
out here,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Is Marilyn D. currently the head of the Garden Club has a separate committee that works on the library maintenance and also the square maintenance.
I was told by Cheryl Mazza and Leslie Brunwick to talk to Marilyn.
Okay,
So
that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Just check.
I asked 4 times
Get
to
the
make
right
sure.
person, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think you can do it, if you do it all for 6,000, that's to be commendable. This is great.
6,300 with a little bit of extra excavating, we'll see, but the plants, we're not putting big, this is not trees, sorry.
No.
These are,
Little tiny.
little things,
Just
Yeah.
to-
Vegetative birds.
and
Yeah.
grants, Jeff, that's
that's the
what
way.
makes the difference.
It's a great story of collaboration, let's put it that way.
Yeah, Broward and Headwaters has been really helpful.
They are. They're a
Yes,
great organization.
They are.
Yeah. So you need from us approval?
resolution.
We're thinking the spring, to commence it with the spring.
Can we make a motion?
Just need a motion.
I think there is a resolution on number.
Yes.
Oh, we do have one, okay.
235. Yeah, it's on the agenda.
We actually have one. All right, so when we get there, we will do that. Which
Great,
hopefully
thank
very
you.
soon. Thank you. And thanks for all your work on that. Okay, we have minutes to approve, October 28th and November 12th. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now, an open session. I believe we have Carol Bianchi wants to say something, so.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say hello to everyone and make sure those of you who don't have my card have my card. So I'm going to leave some extras here with Anthony. And I'm just going to speak very briefly. We are making some reliability improvements. We
This is
received approval
JCP&L,
from-
by the way.
Yes, I'm sorry.
She's not here as the mayor, she's here as.
I feel like I already know you. I've been
I
working with
know.
your administrator, your mayor, some of your committee folks. I've had the pleasure. So I am your JCP&L representative. And so that's why I wanted to make sure you have my contact information. And also just to tell you that we are doing some reliability improvements. We've been doing some enhanced vegetative management. I'm happy to hear about the trees that you're planting. We try to trim by our wires so that improves your reliability. So we've done quite a bit in Bernardsville, and we're going to continue to do it next year. We also have, we're installing what we call trip savers, and these are a type of recloser that will automatically reclose if a breaker opens, and it's caused by a momentary type outage such as a tree limb falling, a squirrel, could be a balloon. This trip saver will reclose 3 times. If it's temporary, the circuit will be closed, and as the name suggests, it saves the trip of the bucket truck, the crew having to come out. So the duration of your outage is momentary. So these are good things we're doing, and stay tuned, and I'll have more for you.
And thank you for all the notices. I don't know if everybody
Yeah.
gets them, but it's just really great to know, right away when there's an outage, where we are, what the status is, so that we can share it with residents. So thank you for that communication.
And we like to, minimize or mitigate your outages as much as possible. We know nobody enjoys those. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carol.
Thank you for the cookies. What a nice
Oh,
touch.
yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you.
Take care. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Terry, just come up, give your name and
Mary
address.
Thompson, 79 Mine Brook Road for the library board. And Mary Jane, you missed the first board meeting all year where 2 things came up that we thought ought to be mentioned to the council.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because she's been very faithful. First of all, only 2 years after the bond issue was approved, the state library has finally come out with rules for awarding grants under the Library Construction Bond Act. We don't have as yet any time pressure, but they are strongly recommending that you apply for increased accessibility features, construction features. Our 2 big heavy sets of doors, which are A, worn out, B, causing the police to make extra calls in the middle of the night because they're blowing open and triggering alarms, or they're not blowing really open, but they're doing it enough to trigger an alarm. And frankly, both sets are pretty impossible if you're using a walker or a wheelchair. And so we've been talking for a couple of years about trying to replace them with monies under the Construction Bond Act, and that's 50%. They will only give us grant 50% of the cost. So I'm just saying we may be coming back to the capital budget when we have those numbers in hand to say, will you support the other 50%, and make the library more handicap accessible than it currently is.
Terry, have you gotten pricing on those doors? Just curious.
Yes, but Doug, you have it I mean, my recollection is that that they're around $25,000 a set. Is that ballpark?
Do everything.
Yeah.
Make them ADA.
And that's,
put in the
set means,
The doors are about 12,000, 13,000.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the whole project would be 25.
For each of
Oh,
there,
each.
and there are two
So
big sets of
50,000.
those doors. There's one on the patio and then the main front doors. And the other thing that I thought I would mention, and it's interesting having heard Ed's presentation, is that this year the Friends of the Library did a fundraiser in the library, the mini golf event. They want to do that again next year, and then at the end of February, or in February. And the Bernardsville Library Foundation, our other community support group, would like to do another wine and beer tasting this year in the library in September. And I think that come the first of the year, I'd like to meet with whoever your insurance liaison is from the council.
It would be Anthony.
Oh, okay, well, that's fine. And try to work this out, because the donors of the wine and the beer for both sets of events are very anti giving you a hold harmless agreement. Of course, they've all got their own insurance, and if there's a dram shop lawsuit, that they're going to be first in line. But and we've gotten along without those kinds of agreements last year for the Friends, and the foundation also managed without them. And I just think we ought to talk about it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Terry. Anyone else from the public? All right, then I will close the public session. We're gonna open the public hearing on ordinance 2019-1825, an ordinance amending the commercial and residential property maintenance codes by adding definitions of junk and junkyard, and supplementing and amending chapter 11 of the Borough Code entitled Property Maintenance. Does anyone in the public want to be heard on this? And basically what this is we didn't have a clear definition in the code of junk in people's yards, so now, which means sometimes we couldn't get it enforced properly with the courts. So now we have a clear definition of what that is, so we can show the judge this is exactly what they had. So,
I received a call from Chief Valentine,
yes,
who was concerned that the definition in the junkyard may be inconsistent with the whole separate section in the code about abandoned vehicles. But I think his concern would be alleviated if we just took out the last sentence in the definition of junkyard,
which
is notwithstanding the foregoing up to 2 dismantled or inoperable motor vehicles may be stored on a lot for up to 60 days to allow for the repair. I think that's covered elsewhere in the code.
so just
But
take
that would
that,
leave in the definition of junkyard.
take out that last sentence.
Yeah, so I would suggest that that's agreeable to amend the ordinance by deleting that last sentence, and then you can still adopt it this evening.
Is everyone okay with that?
I'm okay with it. Can you read the full sentence?
Here.
Yeah, sure, but the definition as written says junkyard shall mean any space, whether inside or outside the building, used for the collection, storage, or abandonment of any waste or discarded material, whether dismantling, demolition, salvaging, resale, or abandonment of structures, automobiles, or other vehicles, equipment, appliances, and machinery or parts thereof. I would suggest that we keep that as the definition. The way it's written now, which came from Bedminster, I believe, Jack? Goes on to say, notwithstanding the foregoing, up to 2 dismantled or inoperable motor vehicles may be stored on a lot for up to 60 days to allow for the repair, refurbishing, or dismantling of said vehicles, provided said vehicles are screened from the view of adjoining lots. I would suggest we delete that, it's covered elsewhere, and the other provision has 30 days rather than 60.
Okay, is everybody okay with deleting that?
Yes.
Not really. Did anyone in the public want to be heard on this? No.
So I would amend it by motion. to
So we
delete
need a
that
motion to
sentence.
amend.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Can that be a voice vote?
Yeah, voice vote is fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. No comments from the public? All right, so we've closed the public hearing. Jeff, why don't you do this because it came out of housing?
Yeah. So I just read the entire.
No, just read, I move
Yeah,
to
okay,
pass.
okay.
That's all.
So I move to pass ordinance 2019/1825 on final reading and adopted as published.
As amended.
That was amended, sorry.
That's right.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Ms. Zamara?
Yes.
Okay, now we have the introduction of ordinance 2019-1826, an ordinance setting 2020 salaries and hourly rates for non-contractual employees.
I wanted to propose that we carry this forward to our next meeting, so we can have some more internal discussions on this particular topic. If we bring it back at the next meeting, we still have time to move it forward this year. But this would allow us to have a closer look on this. There were some discussions that I had, and I had
think with the
discussion with the
finance
mayors as
committee
well.
too,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'd like to do that, and just bring it back on the December 9th meeting.
And that's still enough time, right, Ralph, for internal process?
Yes.
Okay,
Correct, Anthony?
Yes.
Yes.
so do we have to have a motion
No,
to,
you can just pull it from the agenda.
okay, so we'll make sure it's on the next one? Okay. So, who wants to move this? Who's on buildings?
Chris Schmidt's our chair.
Yeah, are you on there? Though? You're on.
I'm on there.
Then you can move it.
Christine Zmar's on there as well. But I would move ordinance 2019-1827 bond ordinance providing for the improvement of various roads in and by the borough of Bernardsville in the county of Somerset, New Jersey, appropriating $900,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $855,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing such appropriation, to be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting at 7 p.m. on Monday, December 9th. So just to clarify, this is part of the $10 million bond that was approved by voters several years back. And this is so that we can make sure that we're ready for the springtime when the weather breaks, that we can pave the roads that were previously identified as part of the bond ordinance process, or the internal process identifying which roads were most in need of repair.
Second. Okay, voice vote, we're just introducing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I have to abstain, but it's just the intro.
yeah. Okay. Now we have resolutions 19226 through 19235. Any questions, discussion on any of them? Oh, you had questions on who had on the mitigation plan, was it?
Oh, yeah,
We get
yes,
answers?
yes, the chief did write me, and we also talked, and I'm satisfied that the one part of the plan about staffing, that I was concerned about, he
For the
recognized
shelter.
that that's an ongoing problem, but that's actually also already being incorporated into the next iteration. So rather than holding this up, I'm satisfied.
Okay. So was anybody else on anything? So would someone like to move the resolutions?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call.
Mrs. Nara?
Yes.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Okay, next we have reports. I think we have everyone's report. We have Jack's. Public Safety Committee, have you met?
Oh, well, Chris is the chair. Actually, we have a meeting coming up on Thursday,
Okay.
Wednesday or Thursday. It's coming up after this meeting.
Okay. Finance, you did meet.
Finance, we had two different meetings in the last month or so. We've been looking at the preliminary numbers as it relates to the 2020 budget. We obviously have a number of different things that are all happening at the same time. So we're putting together the plan for what all the asks are this year and where we're ending last year. We have a number of additional meetings set up before we can come back with any sort of proposal. So we're still at the initial phase. I would just note for the public that we obviously have a lot of obligations coming up.
Yes.
All in the same year. So it's things that we need to consider, and we need to make sure we prioritize properly and do the things that are most important for the public.
Okay, did personnel meet? I think you met last time.
Yeah, we reported last time.
Yeah, I think you did. Engineering, technology, and public works. No?
We met prior to the last meeting too, and it's the only, the main pressing issue is the slope, paving of the slope, which was again delayed this week, but all the residents are informed about it, and hopefully that'll be a done deal tomorrow morning. So, that's really the most pressing issue that.
There was the person on Sini Drive Extension, have you met yet on that one, or not yet?
We haven't met with the resident, we drove the road.
But I mean, the committee, did the committee, hasn't
No, we
talked about it
haven't
yet?
since that.
Okay, because she keeps asking me when you're gonna meet, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's weird, because there's an easement from the borough or something for the school, it gets complicated. Okay, other committee commission reports. Housing, we have Jeff's report. Anybody have questions on anything in Jeff's report? Anything you'd like to share?
The only thing I'd like to share is that last time I was here, we were talking about a lien
Yes.
on a property, 131 Mount Harmony. All the paperwork was done, the property was cleaned up. The bill was received from the person who cleaned the place up, and we also got a check from the bank.
Excellent. So it's working.
We went
It
through the whole-
looks great. Good.
And that was a big dead tree that had fallen over or something? Yeah.
It's great, yeah, a big tree that's split in half in the front of the property.
So I think there were some other properties that we talked about. We said we were gonna do this one and see how it played out, and then we were gonna consider doing a similar approach for other properties. Are there other ones on the list?
That's correct. Now we've hit winter season, so high grass and overgrowth is
Not
not
as
as
prevalent.
predominant as it is during the summer, so there's nothing immediate on our agenda.
Okay, so you come back to us when there's something that's pending that we need to look at?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Council liaison reports, anybody had meetings?
I have Board of Health.
Yes,
The Board of Health met on 11/18 and passed ordinance 2019-2, which is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 5 of the Board of Health Code entitled Individual Subsurface Sewage Disposal System, and Chapter 12 of the Board of Health Code entitled Schedule of Fees for Board of Health Functions. And in October, the Board of Health conducted 8 flu shot clinics in various towns in the area. One was in Bernardsville, and they administered a total of 252 shots. Next year, they're going to scale down the amount of places due to the participation, but Bernardsville will definitely be included in that. The Board of Health is also applying for a grant for radon canisters, which would be distributed for free. Last year, 200 canisters were distributed. And HPAC met on 11/21. The Dunster Squib bidding has begun for the main house, and the bids are due to the borough on November 26th, I believe, at 2:00. The cottage barn
today?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Sorry.
They're due tomorrow. The cottage barn complex painting is complete, and everyone should go take a look.
It looks beautiful.
Because it looks
really
really
does.
nice.
What a difference paint makes.
And
Really looks good.
the Christmas decorations or holiday decorations, I think they're gonna be put up there. So it's gonna look nice. There was a lecture held on October 13th of famous architects from Bernardsville in the library community room. If you missed the lecture, you can still, through the end of November, see the exhibit that went along with it, the lecture, which is in the library vestibule.
It was a good program. I went to that one. Yeah. Anybody else have a meeting?
Just one other thing about housing and zoning, when we met on November the 14th, in addition to the top 10 list that Tom alluded to, we also will be just coming up on the December 9 meeting with a revision of the property maintenance ordinance for section 11.2. What we just voted on was 11.1. 11.2 deals with some residential fees, and so that'll be coming down the pike at the next meeting.
Anybody else? Recreation?
It was conflicted with our meeting last 2 weeks ago.
They were in there, yeah.
They were in there.
Okay. Anybody else? We're good. Items of business. We have, where's the mayor's report? Oh, there it is, okay. Mayor and council appointment. Oh, yeah, John Frisina, put in a skills bank form, and I met with him this week. Young guy, fairly new in town, wants to be involved and is available at 3:00 for a housing meeting. So I signed him up because we have a hard time getting people that can meet on 3:00. And he kind of has an engineering background, wants to learn about zoning. So if everybody's okay with that, can we appoint him to housing? And then maybe we'll actually have like 5 people.
6, right?
Actually, that'll make it 7 now.
Wow, cool.
I think though he'll be the only one who's a renter among the group, which
Yes, which
is
is good.
yeah, diversity.
Yeah. So what do we need? We need a resolution?
Just a motion and a voice vote.
A motion, so,
Motion.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, I will let him know. Mayor's update, November 14th, I met with Daniel Fenko, who is a pastor and church planter, who started a Latino community church, and he also met with the police chief. His mission is to help the Latino community assimilate with the community at large, so he's working with the schools, he's helping with the YMCA tutoring program. And he I actually talked to him about the mural project and having the community participate in the mural project. So he's a great resource if we need to reach that community. So and he's actually started a church that right now I think he's using St. Bernard's for meetings. November 16th, we did the ribbon cutting at the Bernardsville Center. fun 2 days. They did a great job. There were some great deals. So that is finally done. On the 18th, I did another, it's a good thing I bought those scissors, I'm telling you. I did a ribbon cutting at Kessler. They have actually been here a year now, over in the Bernardsville Center. The Cultural Arts Committee met with Karen Frost Olmsted, who's the artist that's working on the mural, to go over the results of all the community meetings and the surveys that were online. And actually, the themes that came up that we were going to that she's going to focus on as she starts with the design. The big thing, one of the questions was favorite landmarks, places in Bernardsville. The top ones were the train station, the Bernards Inn, the old library, the town hall in the pond, Meadowbrook Farms, the movie theater were favorite places. What was the other one? She said, if you were to take an Instagram picture of Bernardsville, what would it be? Again, Meadowbrook and the cows was a big thing. Nature, wildlife, the town pond, the gazebo, Borough Hall, the train station, some of the same things, garden club, flowers, and favorite memories were Memorial Day parade. So, events, celebrations, sports, and the nice thing was, I think they made what we're working towards is maybe it might be something where you can incorporate a lot of those into one thing. So if the Memorial Day parade, you could have the sports teams, the veterans, the fire truck, and actually what was interesting is what a mural is actually an artifact. It's a place that has a shared meaning. And that's what we're trying to do to create there. So it'll be interesting to see how all these things come together in a mural. So hopefully by January, we'll have something to start with. Tom?
Is the mural for both sides of the
Yes.
Yes.
It'll be probably two different ones. So yeah, they'll be on both sides. So there's, those were all really, I think, positive things that when you think of Bernardsville, that's what you think of. So we'll keep you updated on that. November 19th, actually, Christine and Jeff and I were down at the New Jersey League of Municipalities Conference. And Ed, we accepted the Bronze Award for Sustainable Jersey, which was at the luncheon. Do we have it back? Yeah.
We do have it downstairs. Yeah.
So we got it on our plaque. So congratulations, that was a big achievement.
That was nice.
Yeah. And the 21st, we had the fire truck, which I thought was fabulous, that all those fire trucks came from all the surrounding communities to take the soccer champs. They won the national state championship for the 5th time, and gave them, and I got to ride the fire truck, first time ever. It was really fun. So, and it was great because people were on the sidewalks clapping and cheering. It was really a nice thing for them to do. The other thing I wanted to bring up is something that was actually came up during the whole campaign season about the council having a vision, a goal setting kind of session. And I contacted the League of Municipalities, and they're going to send me some resources for a facilitator. But if that's something the council agrees with, I think it might be very useful for us to have a mini retreat, to really sit down, talk about what's working, what's not working, what we'd like to see different, or, so that we have a focus and a vision, which I think was a big thing that came out of the campaign and what people have been talking about in town.
Yeah. I think it makes sense.
Yes?
Yeah.
So I should pursue that. Okay, I will try and find us a facilitator and we'll find a date. And the administrator is also there for this.
I have a vision too.
Okay, so that was my report. Did we have any correspondence? No.
No, I didn't.
Any unfinished business? New business? Oh, wait.
I guess it's both. About the soccer team?
Yeah.
Can we
Oh,
have them
I'm
come
sorry.
to a council meeting?
Yes, I asked Anthony to find, we're gonna do a proclamation for them.
Oh,
I
good.
thought, thank you for reminding me. Probably December 9th,
Right.
to have them come. We'll give them each a copy of the proclamation, and Senator Bucco also offered to do a proclamation, and if he's available, he will try and come as well, so, and maybe get a cake or something, I don't know, we'll do something fun for them.
We always have cookies, so.
I always have, yeah, but then with the soccer team, those will be gone in like,
2 seconds.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, this is just something that Christina and I had talked about, started a couple of weeks ago. We're a little late in the game, but it just came to our attention. But the New Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, the Complete Streets program has a grant out for technical assistance, and there are a couple categories, but we looked at this and thought that the one category for bicycle corridors and network plans might be a good extension of the Bernards Avenue walkability study that we've already done with Complete Streets. And so we're going to try to put this together, working with Leslie and the appropriate process, but we'd like to see if we could get the application is due on December 20, so it's a little bit of a rush, but we'll see what we can do, at least, give it a shot.
is it a grant or?
Yeah, it's great.
It's a in-kind, like the walkability study was, so they provide professional technical assistance.
Oh, nice.
There's no
money.
But I guess with the new procedure, we still have to go through that form. Every grant, we have to submit a form, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get that started.
Oh, right, that Leslie made up, right,
Yeah.
if you're asking.
Just
for-
so she knows about
Right.
it.
Yeah, they don't actually give us money.
We
They
just wanna make sure that the
Yes.
staff knows that these things are happening.
Yeah.
We
so-
should tell, did we send a memo to the different committees as well, so they all know that we have to go through that process? Okay, just so nobody gets surprised, good. Okay, good, any other new business, nothing? We're good? Okay, last chance for an open session, comments from the public.
I have a question. How, Mary Jane and I both sit on the County Complete Count Committee for the
Yes.
census. And I didn't realize until the last meeting that Bernardsville is being looked at as an area where undercounting is extremely likely, and I know that our superintendent of schools is seriously worried about this too. If there's anything I personally can do to help facilitate what plans you're making, please let me know. I'm as involved in this as I am in the library.
Thank you, and actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I did speak
you're-
with Pastor Dan
That's
about
what
that.
made me think of
Yes.
raising this again, is that
Yeah, and I gave him, all the
and Gretchen ought to
contacts.
be a part of any planning discussions, because she's got outreach through the schools that
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I've been thinking about just going down to the railroad station at 6 o'clock in the morning with Theo and having her talk to people about what is involved in being counted, and that it is not going to be punitive, and it will not be reported to ICE or anything, the privacy aspects. Theo Mulgrew, who used to be teach Spanish in the high school.
My son had her.
But, that
She was
kind of
Aaron's.
outreach.
Yeah.
And there are
Yeah.
people that are being paid to work for the census.
Yes, there are, but
And those are,
I don't think a lot of
It's
people
not
have signed up in Burnsville yet.
No,
And there are a lot of part-time jobs available.
Yeah,
well, that's what
and
I'm
good
saying,
pay
like,
too.
we
Good
should
pay.
And I mentioned that to
Pastor
Pastor
Dan.
Dan, I call him Pastor Dan anyway, but we talked about the census, and he, during his Bible study classes, was gonna bring it up and talk about how it's not punitive and that it's,
Reporting,
it's,
all that kind of stuff, yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I gave him the link so that he could go look at all the information they have, because I think how many languages did they say they had it in?
I
It
don't
was
know.
a huge
Every-
number.
57.
Yeah, it was
There are
so
a lot.
crazy that they had it.
I mean, I know we're doing that kind of outreach through the ESL classes in the library. We've started already and hoping that it will spread, because first of all, it's critically important to our school taxes.
Yeah, and to all
They're not the
our
undercount.
state aid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Yes, no, thanks, Terry. Anyone else from the public? All right, we will close the public hearing, public session, sorry. Do I have a motion for executive? What, did you have some?
No, I was just saying, Jack has some.
You have stuff,
and-
okay.
And I have one item.
Are we coming back out?
we may come out.
Okay, so we may
Not
re-adjourn. So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Were you all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay.
We broke last meeting record.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
Okay, we are back in public session. We have a resolution to, you're gonna have the wording? A point of, no, an inspector for this point right now. A fire inspector. Martin
Mandel.
Martin Mandel at $34 an hour, is that what we agreed to? Okay,
For 18 hours,
for 18 hours a week, starting December 1st.
first week of December.
First, second, or second.
When is that Monday?
Second.
The second is Monday.
He's only an inspector
Yeah, we said that,
at the
yeah,
moment, oh, okay.
right, fire
At the
inspector,
moment, yes,
okay.
December 2nd.
Second
So,
it.
we got a motion and a second, I assume that's a roll call?
Yes,
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Ms. Zamara?
Yes.
Okay, we have a fire inspector,
Thank you very much.
excellent.
All right.
Thank you, motion to adjourn,
Motion.
Second.
all in favor?
That makes sense.